Welcome to Triumph IAS. It's a daily mains practice question and answer series. This program is exclusively designed for UPSC CSE aspirants. In this video discussion, we will discuss UPSC CSE mains previous 25-year questions. Question number 1. There is no formation of deltas by rivers of the Western Ghats. Why? Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Delta is a landform created at the mouth of a river due to deposition of silt or load of the river. Unlike the Himalayan rivers, the rivers of the Western Ghats do not form delta. The main body of the answer should be: the following factors explain absence of delta formation by the rivers of Western Ghats. Number 1. The erosion activity of the rivers of Western Ghats flow is very low as it flows through peninsular plateau which is characterized by hard rock surface and lacks alluvial material. Number 2. Therefore, these rivers do not carry much silt load to be deposited at the mouth of the river. Number 3. They receive less amount of rainfall compared to the Himalayan rivers and their catchment area is also small. Number 4. The west-flowing rivers of Western Ghats fall from steep slope and cover very short distance before they fall into Arabian Sea. Number 5. Similarly, the east-flowing rivers flows through relatively shallow and eroded valley and has less fluvial force. Also, most of the tributaries of these rivers make trellis pattern because of their confluence at right angles. Conclusion of the answer is: therefore, these rivers can only form canyons, estuaries, falls, etc. Question number 2. Constitutional mechanisms to resolve the interstate water disputes have failed to address and solve the problems. Is the failure due to structural or process inadequacy or both? Discuss. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Having regard to the various infirmities and difficulties in speedy and timely resolution of interstate disputes, the Sarkaria Commission on Center-State Relations gave several recommendations for implementation. The main body of the answer should be: number 1. The Commission observed that in case of every water dispute there have been several occasions when one or the other party approached the Supreme Court by way of seeking judicial review both against the interim orders of the tribunal as also against the final decision. Number 2. The Ministry of Water Resources recently prepared a cabinet note about creating a permanent tribunal for interstate river water disputes, IWD, resolution in pursuance of a proposal to the effect in the National Draft Water Policy of 2012. Number 3. As reports go, the government is concerned about long delays in dispute resolution and the tendency of states to approach the Supreme Court for redressal of recurring disputes. Number 4. Setting up a permanent space for adjudication may be helpful, but certainly not adequate. The approach appears ill-informed, a case where the prescription may be right, but the prognosis and the diagnosis appear misplaced. Number 5. Thus, it casts doubts about how the solution will fare in the future. The doubts stem from two key concerns. 1. The preferred approach for IWD resolution is to avoid litigation. Number 6. This is the basic premise of the guiding legislation, the Interstate River Water Disputes Act 1956, LRWDA. A permanent tribunal may lead to extended litigation in spite of time frame restrictions. Number 7. 2. There is complete obliviousness to the possibility that the IWDs are often symptoms of larger interstate relations and have crucial implications for the re-making of federal democracy. Number 8. Design of IWD resolution mechanisms has to be conscious of these implications in the changing context of center-state and state-state relations. Number 9. IWDs are no longer about contestations for water allocations. Rather, these have become highly politicized avenues for populist and vote bank politics. Number 10. These politics shape the outcomes of disputes and vice versa. A consequence of these politics is political configurations, party affiliations at the center, and the party states significantly impact the manner in which IWDs emerge, recur, or diffuse. Conclusion of the answer is: furthermore, increasingly assertive regional powers, polarized subregional interests, and growing competitive interests among states are other propelling factors of these politics. The politics often lead to constitutional and governance crises. Question number 3. What is allelopathy? Discuss its role in major cropping systems of irrigated agriculture. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Allelopathy studies the effects of chemicals produced by plants or microorganisms on the growth, development, and distribution of other plants and microorganisms in natural communities or agricultural ecosystems. The main body of the answer should be: the biochemicals released in the process of allelopathy can have either beneficial, positive allelopathy, or detrimental, negative allelopathy, effects on the neighboring organisms and the community. Number 1. Allelopathic substances work like herbicides, preventing the germination and growth of the seedlings of competing species. Number 2. Allelopathic interactions between plants and other organisms may become an alternative to herbicides and insecticides for weed, disease, and insect control. Number 3. Crops like rice, sorghum, etc. releases allel chemicals like phenolics, short-chain fatty acids that are detrimental for some of the weeds and pests. Rice against barnyard grass, sorghum against pigweed. Allelochemicals can also stimulate the plant germination and growth. These can also aid in growth and development with low amounts of nutrients and water in the soil. Number 4. Crop allelopathy can be used wisely to reduce inhibitory influence among allelopathic crops and improve productivity and land efficiency by establishing scientific crop rotation and intercropping systems, e.g. intercropping of sorghum, sesame and soybean in a cotton field have a synergistic effect on production and protection against the persistent weed nutsedge or nutgrass. Conclusion of the answer is: furthermore, increasingly assertive regional powers, polarized subregional interests, and growing competitive interests among states are other propelling factors of these politics. The politics often lead to constitutional and governance crises.